What is up, y'all? My name is Rob Donaldson, and welcome back to another edition of Rob's Best Bets. And in this episode, we are once again talking about college hoops, baby, here on November 21st, 2025. And we have an awesome slate here on Friday. It's officially feast week. We've got tournaments. We've still got some home games and kind of normal games sprinkled in to all of these MTEs, but this is going to be a really fantastic week coming up here all the way up till Thanksgiving, and I can't wait to share it with you guys on here as well. But I do have to say something, because over the last couple days, we've had a couple losing days in a row, and I just want to address this because I've been getting so many messages, whether it's on YouTube comments or, DM requests on Twitter or comments on Twitter. And I just gotta say this. Look at the screen right here. That total at the very top is over a 4-season span. The one right in the middle, that is last year's results. And that one at the bottom, that's this year's results through the first 3 weeks. You're seeing a lot of green, right? And I think it's important to mention this because I do not cater towards the people who come on here and kind of handpick the bets that they want to follow, or dump all that they have in their bank account or in their sportsbook balance on one or two bets, hoping that they hit, hoping that they can double up. That's degeneracy. That's straight up just being a degenerate. I do not cater to you. So if that's you and that's what you're wanting to get out of this channel, hey, you're welcome to tail along. You're welcome to follow day by day. But if you don't take accountability for that's 100% on you, man. I come on here and I deliver a blueprint that day by day will lead to long-term success in every single sport that we bet on. And if you are not on that wave, that's fine. But again, it's a self-accountability bit. We are going to have a lot of success in college basketball. That is what's going to happen. And for those who think that, it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows, we're going to have winning days over and over and over again, stacked on stacked on stacked. Hey, you're living in a dream world. I applaud it. I wish I had your optimism. But again, do not throw it my way in a negative way when it comes back and it hits you in the face. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't want to be too negative out the gate, but it's been about 40 different messages over the last 2 days where it's time to address it, and I'm glad that I got that off my chest. But hey, we have a really fantastic day here on Friday with a lot of great games starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for us, and I'm excited to jump into those picks. So let's go ahead and jump into them right here, right now. All right, first up, we are heading out to the Charleston Classic, where we have a really fun mid-major matchup here between Utah State and Tulane. And this is kind of a prove-it year for Ron Hunter. And last time out, in a regionality battle between New Orleans, they got their shit caved in at home. And I do think that when you're in this kind of season where it's pivotal for the program, it's pivotal for Ron Hunter, it's pivotal for these players that came to Tulane to do some real nice work on the court. I think that next time out, after a really bad loss like that, you're going to be playing some more inspired ball, some better ball. I do think that there's a very talented roster that Tulane has on their hands here. And although I think Utah State is a fantastic team, and there's a lot of chances that they could cover this number, I see a lot of outcomes that could end with them winning by, 12 plus points. I see a lot more outcomes that actually feature Tulane sticking in this game wire to wire. And for that reason, I say we go ahead. We take the 11.5 points here for 3 units for our first bet here on Friday. For pick number 2, we are heading out to another MTE. This one is out there in Ogden, Utah, and this is a very interesting matchup here between Campbell and UT Arlington. And what I can tell you about this game is when you've watched Campbell play this year, the way that we've bet on 2 of their games so far, this is a very talented looking team. They've got really good guard play, they've got some really good scorers, and they also have just, I think, a good energy to the program this season that they've, yes, accumulated through the portal, but it's also been building up to this point over the past couple years as well. And when you are looking at this matchup against UT Arlington, I think they're head and shoulders the better team, but because of win-loss record perceptions early on this season, I think we're actually catching a little bit of a break, and we are getting a 1.5 point buffer with the Camels, and for that reason, I say we go ahead and we take that 1.5 point buffer for 2 units for our second bet here on Friday. For pick number 3, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Wisconsin and BYU. And this is another MTE event. This is the Bad Boy Mowers series. And this one's out in Salt Lake City, which obviously, when you're looking at BYU, is a factor to consider. Now, what I will say is this is also a major revenge game in terms of what we saw take place last year in the NCAA tournament, where BYU kicked Wisconsin out of the dance. It was a crazy game. Wisconsin played a hell of a ball game. BYU did too. But the thing is, with this matchup, Wisconsin's playing the better ball coming in. And I get it. BYU is the hype team that a lot of people want to be backing. And I'm going to be probably backing them if they drop some of games kind of early on in the season, because what happens with younger teams, they tend to go through woes in the months of November and December. And behind good coaching, behind that sort of, gel and cohesion that's built up over those first 2 months, they turn a corner. But hey, we're 3 weeks into the season. Wisconsin, who I think is the better team right now, is catching 5.5 points. Yes, the road environment type of atmosphere that we're expected to see does scare me a little bit, but I do think that we go ahead. We take the Badgers here, catching the 5.5 points for 4 units for our third bet here on Friday. For pick number 4, we are taking a look at a very fun matchup here between Louisville and Cincinnati. And when you're looking at this matchup, obviously Louisville already has the more impressive resume coming in because they knocked off Kentucky. It was a big-time win. They did it in very definitive fashion. And now, they are rolling into this MTE going up against Cincinnati, who is the home team. They are hosting this tournament, essentially, in the city of Cincinnati. And I do think that when you're watching the Cincinnati team, finally, it feels like Wes Miller has a bunch that can really get it done this season. And this is a big-time prove-it spot. This is also going to be a home-type environment for Cincinnati. Despite Louisville being in the area, being in the region, they will have fans, certainly, but Cincinnati will rule this environment here, and kind of like what we saw with Kansas State playing in Kansas City against Mississippi State on Thursday, I think that Cincinnati is going to be out to prove a point in this matchup by taking down a team with number 6 next to their name. So let's go ahead and let's take the 9.5 points here with the Bearcats for 4 units for our fourth bet here on Friday. For pick number 5, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Oakland and Eastern Michigan, and this is kind of one of those normal games that's mixed into kind of these feast week festivities early on here, and I really do love Oakland in this matchup, just in general, but in particular in this matchup because they have gone through the absolute ringer in terms of opponents through the first 5 games of their season because, yes, they picked up a win against a Division II school, but let me just kind of show you as well who they faced since facing that Division II school, because they've taken on Michigan in Ann Arbor. They've taken on Purdue in Mackey. They've taken on Houston in Houston. and they just took on UCF in Orlando and nearly won the damn game. I mean, Greg Campy, this is how it should be done, because yes, they are not picking up the wins that would necessarily build a resume for an at-large, but the Horizon League will never get an at-large, and so why not build up your team by facing tough competition in the non-con when you can control who you go up against? And they kept that game between Purdue to 10 points. They kept that UCF game to 4 points. And yes, they got blown out by Michigan and Houston, but guess what? A lot of teams are going to get blown out in Ann Arbor and Houston this season. And Eastern Michigan, they are not one of those teams. And for those reasons, I say we go ahead and we lay the 1.5 points here for 2 units for our 5th bet here on Friday. For pick number 6, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Manhattan and Texas A&M. And this Texas A&M team, last time out when we bet on them, when they were playing up against Montana, they were dominant for most of the game until they weren't. And I say until they weren't because they were leading by double digits. It felt like they were going to cover our 16.5 point line. And then all of a sudden on the back end of the game, everything collapsed. And I do think, once again, kind of the same angle here. We're double dipping on an angle that didn't work out, but I think should have worked out, if that makes sense. Because we're going to go ahead and lay the 23.5 points here with A&M. I do think that Montana is such a step up from Manhattan in this matchup. And when you are looking at Manhattan, they don't have the size. They don't have the athleticism to hang with a team like a Texas A&M. And eventually, I think the athleticism and the dominant scoring that Texas A&M acquired through the portal is going to rear its positive head. And so far, we've kind of seen it in spurts, but we haven't seen it for a complete game. I feel like that complete game is coming sooner rather than later. And for that reason, again, I say we go ahead and we lay the 23.5 for 2 units for our 6th bet here on Friday. For pick number 7, we are heading down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where we have Nebraska Omaha taking on LSU. And obviously, one of the big factors in this game that maybe a lot of people don't actually know about, I don't know what people know or don't know, but Markel Sutton, who is now on the LSU roster, played for Omaha last season during Omaha's dream season. This is going to be kind of that, relations of sorts, that revenge game factor, if you will. But what I do know is that when you look at what Omaha lost in the portal, and this is kind of the note that I'm sticking with here, they lost their best players. They retained a lot of minutes, but they lost their best guys. And I do feel like in the early goings, they are going to be going through a lot of growing pains. LSU on the other side, I think right now they are out to prove a point because they've been kind of, underwhelming in the Matt McMahon era so far. And eventually, I think with so much talent invested in this roster, the dam will break. And when you are laying a reasonable number against a mid-major that was a tourney team last season, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of lay that modest number. So let's go ahead and lay the 19.5 points here for 2 units for our second to last bet here on Friday. All right, for our final bet here on Friday, we are taking a look at a matchup here between Montana State and Long Beach State. And when you are looking at this matchup here, you might be asking yourself, Rob, why are we even talking about this game? Montana State's 2-4, Long Beach State is 1-4. Do we have anything else that we can potentially bet on? And I'm just going to say this, and a lot of you guys already know where I'm going with this, but Montana State, we have bet on them 3 times this season. Against Colorado, against Stanford, against Boise State. All 3 were losses in terms of actual real terms, but they covered all 3 very, very handily, and they had a chance to win every single one of those games on the road against really, really stiff competition. And I do feel like when you are looking at a 2-4 record, that's going to dissuade a lot of people off these types of lines and these types of games. But this is where you dive in on the teams that are very, very good in the mid-major ranks, but just have that ugly win-loss record as it currently stands in the season. And for that reason, I say we go ahead and we lay the 3.5 points here for a 4-unit wager for our final bet here on Friday. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and I like to mention this as well when we're talking about, a Friday video, but on the weekends when it comes to college basketball, when it comes to just across the board everything, NFL included, I don't like to post videos because I like to take my weekends off. I like to relax a little bit. I like to do a little bit of traveling as well. I don't want to kind of focus and have the obligation of doing a video on the weekend. And so potentially there might be more videos for Saturday and Sunday slates that are popping up here on YouTube. But if you want to make sure that you're following every bet, make sure you are following me over on Twitter/X at RobDFB. But with all that being said, y'all, I appreciate you guys. And as I always say, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.